Okay, so now let's start building the forms. We will start with these two here, one to assign tasks and one to create personal tasks. So let's start with the form to assign tasks. Head over to JetFormBuilder, hit create new, and you will be on a screen such as what you see on mine here. So the first field here that we have, it's a hidden field, and this hidden field is to push or to assign the task status when you assign a new task. So remember I said you should be, or rather you should understand how to get the terms IDs or the tags IDs from your taxonomies. This is where they come into play, and that is what will be happening here when we create our post term. So this here, it's the task status, and what we want to do here is when we assign a new task, its initial status should be pending. So how do you go about it? Drop in a hidden field, then the field value should be manual input, and the value here should be either of two things. You can use the term ID, taxonomy, tag ID from your taxonomy, or you can use the slug. Let me just go back to our tasks status here so that you can see. So I said pending. So there are two ways you can get the ID. Either hover over the name, then below your screen you will see the ID, tag ID, which is 14. That's what we grab and put it here. The other way, you can just use the slug, which is this, but I prefer IDs because they are more safe to do that. So get the ID for that. As I said, we want when the task is assigned, it goes, or it is assigned as pending. So that is the first field. Then this one is title, and the other one is task priority. So the task priority is a select field, and our select field, the field options is from terms. Okay, terms are tags for taxonomies. I hope you get that. Then we select our taxonomy from the list. Now remember when I said make sure your taxonomies have unique names, it's because of this part here. So for instance, we have priority, and remember both personal tasks and assigned tasks have priority. So if you name them priority and you don't differentiate like I did here, one, I added into parentheses personal tasks, then you'll have a difficult time deciding or knowing which one exactly now should you go with. So it's priority for assigned tasks, and this is where our drop down or this one here, when you say assigned task, the priority that you select here, high, low, medium, these are terms from our priority taxonomy. So that is that for that part. And the next field is assigned to. Now pay attention at this point, sorry. Now this assigned to here, it's also a select field, and the field option this time around it's generate dynamically. Why? Because you will never tell how many users will be there, so you can't list them in advance unless your system is fixed. It's static, so it's generate dynamically. Then generator function, it's get values list from JetEngine query. Now, let me just take you back a little bit. Remember when I said we need to build a query here for this query number 17? This is where it comes into use. Then now, just hold on at that point and let's go back and do what? Let's go to JetEngine and go to Query Builder. Now, because you already know what you're supposed to do, I expect you to build the query first before you create the form. Okay? Or you can do it simultaneously. It just depends with how you want to do it. So here is my query. Let me take you through it so that you understand what you're supposed to do. So give your query a name. For me here it's staff. Be very specific with your names as well, because once your list of queries grow big, it will give you trouble if you are not specific with the name. So these are just little things that you're supposed to be careful with to make your work easier. Then what's the query type? I already showed you. Actually, each of the query that I've listed here, I have also indicated the type. So for this, it's users query. I think I will make this list available for you so that you can just follow it through when you try to replicate something similar to make your work easier. So it's users query from the drop down list. Then remember, I also asked you to have a plugin that can help you create new roles. Yep. So I expect you to have created roles that are specific to your use case. If maybe you have, let me say, project managers, or you have whatever it is that you are dealing with, you might have them as the list of roles here, whether you have clients, whether you have merchants, whatever it is. So select the role, the specific role of the people that you will want listed here in this drop down, in this assigned to. If it's all users, then you don't need to get the role. You will just leave it plain, and it will pull all the users from your system. So I hope you get the difference. So you need to select the role, the specific role. If there are more than one role, just select all of them. So maybe if it's staff and maybe say another role like that, you can just pick all of them. For me, it's just one. So that's all you need to do with this query, and it should list all the users that have that specific role. Then you need to remember this ID. Okay, now Crocoblock made it much easier because they added this, but back in the days, this was not part of this thing. So you could do this. You could go to your what do we call it? The URL at the top there, but until you first save the query, you need to save it first before you can see it. Really? Not really. You will always see the ID there the moment you create a new one. So you can always get the ID in the URL, but you don't need to do that because it's always here for you. So once these things are done like that, let's go back to the form now so that I can explain some things for you step by step. Now we have 3 elements here. You can see we have 9. We also have user underscore email and display underscore name, and are all separated with a pipe character. Let me explain one by one what this means. 9, it's the ID of your query. Let's go back to the query, and we said remember the ID, which is 9. So that's clear. Then we have the next part, it's the user underscore email, and the third part, it's display underscore name. Now, this second part here, I hope you're listening. Please pay attention. This second part is the value that you'd like to be saved when this form is submitted. Let me take you back to the query, and let me just show you the results that I have pulled on this side here. So we have ID, we have user login, we have things like user URL, we have user, all these stuff. So whatever you want to be saved when the form is submitted, that's what you need to use as the second element here in this part. So in my case, I want it to be the user email. That's what I need. And that's actually what we also have somewhere. Let me just take you back in case you forgot. Let me take you back just one step in case you forgot this. I will open that and show you. Now, assigned to, you see the email. That's what we are trying to capture at this point. Yeah, I have blurred out the email so that I don't run into I don't run into issues with YouTube. The last video that I uploaded, YouTube took it down because they thought that I was exposing user identifiable information, which is against their community terms and all that. So let's go back to our stuff. And now if you want to save anything else, maybe the ID or the user login, whatever you want to save, that is what you add here. Then the third part, which in my case it's the display name, it's what you want the user to see in the front end when they select a value from the drop down. So here, assigned to, so whatever you want to be listed here, it's what you add here in this third place. So if you want it to be what can you say, maybe you do not want it to be the display name, you do not want to use the display name, you say you want to use maybe the email, you can use the email. Or you want to use, let's say you want to use the ID, for example. Let me just take this and let's test it very fast, just for you to understand it 100%. So you want to use the ID here and not the display name. I will save this, and once it's saved, I will have to refresh this page also very fast, just for you to see the difference. So those are the three things that we need. I hope you understand all the elements that we have. The first one is the ID of your query. The second part, it's what you want to save when the form is submitted. And the third part, it's what you want to display in the front end in your form. So in your form as the drop down. So we've changed this to ID, and you can see they are now IDs and not display names. But I don't want it to be IDs because that doesn't make any sense. I will revert it back to what I had earlier on. So I hope you've understood that part, and it's clear like that. So the next part is the start date. So the start date, this is a date field. Okay, it's a date field, not date time, just date field. And there are a few things that you also need to do, and I will explain the difference that I have with my forms here. And that just makes me want to go and pull something else up. Remember, I asked you to also have to have a code snippet plugin of your choice. That is where it also comes in handy, but this is optional. If you want to use the normal dates, I mean the normal calendar that comes with JetFormBuilder, then you don't need this part. But for me, I just don't like it, and that's why my dates my calendar looks like this. This is what do we call this thing? Flat picker. This is from Flat Picker, all the dates and the time. So let me go back to the form here very fast. So here you will want to do this. If you are using the normal, the default calendar that comes with the form, make sure you also enable is timestamp. Did you get that? Remember what we did with when we created our CPT. You remember that, right? Yes, we enabled that thing called timestamp. So make sure in your form, and if you are using the default calendar that comes with JetFormBuilder, make sure this is also enabled here. That's very important. You might want to read these macros and all that. If you want to limit the dates to start from a specific date and all that, you can explore that. I won't get into details with that. So, but if you will want to use my code that I will provide, if you will ask for it, my snippet which is here, then you don't need to enable is timestamp because the code takes care of that. But what you need to do is make sure in advanced option down here, when you are on the date field, which is the start date, down here in CSS class name. Now let me go back to my code so that you can see. I have put it as a comment at the top here. You don't need to understand how the code works. I can't explain that for now, but I have the CSS class names that you need to use. This is what I'm going to explain just right now. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now leave the DOB out of this because we don't need it right now. We are not using it in this use case. So this is time. This is time in 24. Now if you can see here, mine is in 24 clock system. So if you want to also use the 24 clock system, you will have to use this CSS class name here. But if you want to use the 12 hour, then just use this first one here. And for the date, it's this. So this is what you will use. Get this class name and go to your form. Then go to that specific field and in advance down there, add the CSS class name there. That's all you need to do. And in the front end, you will receive this kind of date. You can modify the code if you want. Just make sure you know what you're doing. So you will get these dates. I hope that's understood and it's clear. Same with due date, it's exactly the same thing down there. And for the time, as I explained, if you want it to be 24-hour system, then add that 24. If you want it to be 12, let us just experiment with this again. I will just remove that and save this. Then I will refresh the page once more so that you can just see the difference of that thing. So those are the fields that needs much explanation. The description of your task, you can use a WYSIWYG field or you can use a text area field. Then the attachment field here, I said you can either just add a media field direct into the form. You can just add a media field, media field direct into the form, or you can use a repeater field as I am doing here. So you add in your repeater field, then you hit the add block, then you add now the media field there. And there are a few things I want to explain at this point, but first let's go back here and see this thing is okay. It's up. So I've changed the due time to a 12 hour, and you can see this has also changed here as well. So that is what I was trying to explain, and you will have to select between AM and PM. So that's the difference with that thing, and I will revert it back to what I had earlier so that it doesn't mess up with my thing. So let us go back to the last field here, which I said I need to explain a few things. So you will insert a media field, a media field. As you can see here, this is a media field. Then you need to do the following. Number one, here in this option, field options here, or configuration settings, make sure you don't leave it blank, but have any registered user selected. Then enable this insert attachment. It's very important you do that, don't forget. And the field value should be attachment ID. Now notice this, we are matching this exactly with what our post type fields expect us to store in those specific fields that we created. Let me go back and just go here. Yep, so that is also the other thing that you must be very careful when you set up your forms. Make sure that the fields are in sync with the meta fields, so that you have here attachment ID, or rather you select here attachment URL, and the other side it's expecting an attachment ID. Then there will be some conflicts that you don't want. So this here, it's attachment ID. I just explained earlier on and said that IDs work much better, and you can use these IDs to get the URL and everything else that you need. The rest of the options down below are entirely up to you. So make sure, as I said, the fields that you set in your form are in agreement with the fields that you have in your CPT, so that you don't have conflicts later on. I hope that is understood. So that is all with the fields that we need. Now what do we need next? Next we need now to configure the post submit actions. The first one here, it's not needed. I only have this because this is a product, I mean this is a development environment, and sometimes I need to catch issues with form errors, and that's why I have this enabled. Save form record. But there is also something else you need to do, which is go to JetFormBuilder settings and make sure that you have the following enabled. Enable development mode or developer mode. So if you have this enabled, if the form has any issues, you will always see them in form records here. When you got form records, you will see if the form failed, you can understand what exactly happened with your form. That is the main reason I have this enabled here. Otherwise, I don't need that. So the first thing that we need is to insert a post type. So what you do is hit add action, then select add action, then select insert or update post, and you need now to do the following things. Number one, which post are you inserting? Remember, it's the post type that we created for tasks, assigned tasks. In fact, I should have called these assigned tasks. Anyway, I know what I'm doing, or rather I understand how I named my things. So it's tasks. That's what I select from the post types list. Then status. If you do not want to have yours published, then feel free to use whatever you want to use here, but for me it's published. And let's now go through these fields mapping carefully. So the first field, it's the task status, which I already explained that we want to do what? We want to insert pending when a task has been assigned. So from the drop down here, we will select terms. Then we will select our specific taxonomy. So it is task status. If I could have named it assigned task status, that could have been much better, but I understand what it is because the other one I gave it a different name, which is, I think I gave it either individual or personal status or something, or I just gave it status. I didn't add anything before that. So it is task status, and that's it. Then the title, this should be the post title. The task priority, again, these are post terms, and which one? It's priority, not personal task, but priority for assigned tasks. Then these other ones, we just map them directly from this other side. So what you basically do is have one of these open. Have one of these opened like that, so that you basically just copy this assigned to, you copy like that and paste it in there. Then start date, it's post meta, just like we have for assigned to, it's post meta. Then we simply go back to this part and copy this again and paste it there. So you do all that for all the fields all the way to the last one. Let me just go to this last one here, because it's important you also get to understand what is happening, which is the task attachment. So we have task attachment here, which is post meta, and it is task attachment, as you can see here. Task attachment, that is straightforward, right? Then file, it's go back here and open the repeater item like that, and copy this name here. That is what you are supposed to add here as the mapping of that repeater field. Then don't forget to update once you're done. So basically that's what you need at this time and point, and that should be done. These other things are additionals that I'm not sure I should go through right away for at this point, because for you, maybe if you will not want to use custom code, for instance, once a task has been assigned, you might want to send email in a normal way, which you will just use this send email. Then you can use stuff from your field to map into the email body and all that, and anything else that you might want to do here. But for me, because I usually like to have better stuff for my things, my emails look like, let me just put a screenshot on this on the screen right now. So it looks like that, and that's why I'm using custom solution for having something like this. So I have several hooks here, and the first hook it's for assigning user ID from email. I think this is a very important step that I almost forgot to explain, and nobody was telling me about it. Anyway, no problem. Then the second hook here, it is one that inserts a notification. Remember, I said we have this thing here that I think we'll just look into it, but not now. This one here, whereby it just notifies the other party about the assigned task. Then the other hook that we have, it is an email. So this one, it's what sends the email that you just saw a few moments ago. So all these are optional stuff, and the last here, it's just redirect to page, and it's the current page or the same page. That's what I use. If you want to redirect them elsewhere, feel free to do that. If you don't want to make any redirection, then it's okay. I always add this redirect just so that once this form has been submitted, I'm using Ajax. I don't know whether it's Ajax or Ajax or whatever you want to call it, submission. So the page does not reload when the form is submitted. The form just returns success, and it refresh or reloads the page so that the user can see the whatever they created. They can see that added to the list down here. So that's basically why I have this option here. Now let me just go back to this important thing that I almost forgot: assign user ID from email. Now remember, here we have this part, custom user ID. So assignee user ID, and I said we need this ID because we'll be using it in just a moment when we start creating our listings and the query that needs, or rather needs, the listings need it. So why do we have this code? It's because, remember this part here where we are getting the display, we are getting the display name, the user email from this part. Now I found it to be a little bit tricky to try and use some other additional add-ons that are provided by Crocoblock to try and listen to. Now there is something, if you've seen here, let me see if it's here. There is this thing here. I tried to use it, but it was not helpful that much. This field updater. So I wanted to use this for this same reason. So what I wanted to do was listen to what is selected here, the email address that has been selected here, then update another hidden field with the ID of that user. But it was not working as I expected it to work, so I ditched that idea. And now I decided to create a custom solution for that, so that once this form is submitted, we will get the user email from the form data, from this field. Then from that user email, we will extract their user ID, and that user ID will be programmatically inserted into this field. Now there is a very important step that you need to understand when you do exactly this way. It's the order of things here, or rather the order of the post submit actions. You must insert the post first before you call this hook. Why is it so? Because where will we insert the ID if the post is not created yet? You get that? Yes, you do. So we need to insert this post first. Then once we insert the post, we can now proceed with the hook, which will get the user ID from the post data and update the created post. Now let me show you that snippet. Let me show you that snippet. It's available as well, and I will make it available to you as well. Let me see if I can get to it very fast. It's somewhere. It should be somewhere. It's here. Insert user ID from assigned task. It's a very short. It's a very short one. Yeah, it's a very short snippet. And what is happening here now, I like adding hook to my snippets. I think I need to fix a problem here. I like adding this because sometimes I end up with a list of too many snippets, and differentiating between which one is a hook and all that can be a lot of work if you don't do this. So this is the snippet, and what it does, this is the hook, assign user ID from email. Let me see if that's what we have here. It should be assign user ID from email. Yeah, that's the hook. And what this hook does is it gets this email field key. Then we have user ID meta key. This is the CPT meta field, which is here, custom user ID, which is here, custom user ID. The email field key is assigned to, which in our field, you can actually see it here. It's here. The field name, it's assigned to. So those two. Then display name meta key, that is what we have in our CPT here. Assignee display name, assignee display name. I think I forgot to mention that. Assignee display name, this is also a CPT. This is all, we also insert this as well. So it's the ID and the display name. So those are the things. So from the post data, we just grab that, then the code processes everything and it inserts the details once the CCT has been created. And we also defined our post type in this code as well, so that the code knows where to insert those details. So that's all from there. Okay, so the other ones, these other hooks, I will just make the code available, but I don't think I will make these for notifications available, because for this to work, you need the other plugin. But for email, I will make it available. So that's all with the form. I hope you guys got it clearly. And I don't think I need to explain the other forms. The other form for creating, what do we call it? For creating personal task, because it's straightforward. But what I will do, I will just take you through it very fast. Just in case you want to see it, right? Or maybe see the difference. So new task, personal. I'll just take you through very fast. It's not as detailed and complicated as the other one, because this is straightforward. We are not getting those things. We are not calling hooks. We are not doing all that stuff, because this is a personal email. Why do we need to send ourselves? I mean, this is a personal task. Why do we want to send ourselves a notification or an email after creating a task? It doesn't make sense. So we only need to insert a post type and redirect to the same page. But we need to do what? We need to get the ID of the current user. So this is a hidden field. Then the value is current user ID. Then we need also to do the same thing with the task status, because when the task has been created, we immediately assign it the status of pending. until when the user will start working on it, they will change it into whatever they want to. Then the title, the priority, which it's exactly what I explained from the other form. It's the terms, then you select the taxonomy, then the date, start and due date, and time. They are exactly the same things I have explained in the previous part of the form, including the attachment part. So remember, when mapping the field, select the correct post type from the drop down so that things don't get mixed up. And also, there is one thing that you should not get confused with. We do not have anything here as post ID. Why? Because we are creating new posts, so the ID will be taken care of by default. So don't forget and try adding some hidden fields of post IDs here. It doesn't work like that for new posts that we are inserting. So that's all with these two forms. And the next form that I need to also explain, maybe it's now sorry, the form to edit, right? Yeah, we need that. Or do we need to look into the form to... No, I think let us look into the form to edit these tasks, right? Update personal task, update assigned task. Yeah, let's look into those ones. One in detail, the other one will just go through very fast.